Most of the information that you find online about how to write ads, most of it honestly sucks a little bit. So I wanted to create this video to show you the process and the thought process that we go through when we are creating ads for our clients at the agency. And this isn't just like written ads, it could also be video scripts as well, because when you understand copywriting, frameworks, that stuff can be translated into all different forms of media. And over the last few years, we've generated like 20 million plus for our clients at the agency from paid advertising. And it's usually down to the ads that we create following this process. So the standard information that is taught about how to create ads, it's pretty much just you need to hook them, then you have the body of the ad, and then you have a CTA to take whatever action that is, whether that's to opt in as a lead or to purchase your product. Now that's fine, and generally that structure works, but it doesn't really give you much useful information because it's like, okay, well, the body of the ad, which is the main part of the ad, you're not actually telling me what to put in there. And usually people would say stuff like, you want to tell a story. So it'd be like hook, story, offer, right? People use that framework. Or you want to give value, right? But, give value is such a BS statement that, again, doesn't really mean anything. And if you don't actually strategically put your ad together, then you aren't going to achieve what you need to achieve in order to get someone to buy from you. Especially if they're a stranger that have never seen you before on the internet and they're seeing your ad for the first time and they've never heard of you, then you can't just blindly give value about your product or your service or your process or whatever it is and expect someone to be like, okay, cool, I'm going to buy from you. It doesn't really work like that. So I'm going to break down a few different frameworks that we use when creating our ads. Now, the main thing to focus on is when we create an ad, you need to make sure that it focuses on one big idea. So people would call this the angle. A big mistake people make is they're trying to write an ad that appeals to too many different people at once. It's trying to solve too many pain points at once. And it's just trying to achieve too much. And when you're writing an ad, you don't really have time to start selling to everyone and appealing to everyone and overcoming every objection and proving that your product can help lots of different people, even if your product can help multiple different types of avatars and different pain points. The idea is to create individual ads that are just focused on one big idea. And it's usually written for one specific customer and solving one or at least a few very specific similar pain points. And then you can run those ads separately, and then you can see which angle or which big idea resonates most with your market. And then you can, make decisions on your offer, your marketing, your sales process based on that data. But in the beginning, the worst thing you can do is try and write an ad that appeals to too many different people at once. So that's our philosophy when it comes to writing ads. So Formula 1, which I want to talk about, is a misconception. So yes, we have a hook, we have the body, and then we have the CTA generally, right? Now, one of the things that we try to achieve with that body section with Formula 1 is to educate them on a misconception that they have. So you need to ask yourself, what is a common misconception / belief that your ideal customer has that is stopping them from getting the results that they want to achieve? And you need to educate them on why it's stopping them from getting results. And I'm going to give you some examples in a second. It could be around a strategy that they're trying, something that they're personally doing wrong. Maybe they've had some misinformation from, the news, media, your competitors, that's stopping them from, taking the right action. Or it could be like a false belief. So like a really common angle that you see quite a lot in the health and fitness space, and people like V-Shred have used this very, very well, is he knows that a strategy that his ideal customer is trying that isn't getting them results and something that they're doing wrong, and a false belief that they have, is that to lose weight, you need to do lots of cardio. So you'll see V-Shred's ads, who's, you can say what you want about V-Shred in terms of ethics and, all that sort of stuff, but he's a very good marketer, or at least his team is. And one of his biggest angles is around, hey, most people think that to lose weight, you need to do cardio all day. Well, you don't. So that's like a big misconception. So you can start off the ad by hooking them in with something around doing cardio all day to lose weight. And then the body of the ad actually educates them on why that is actually stopping them getting results. And V-Shred will go into that and start explaining to them the science. And again, whether you say his science is correct or not, he will go in and explain, hey, this is the reason why, doing cardio actually stops you from getting results, right? And you can explain. It's the same thing with, cutting carbs. People think that cutting carbs is the way that you lose weight. And then he'll have ads that say, hey, you don't actually need to cut carbs to lose weight. This is why cutting carbs actually stops you from losing weight. It kills your metabolism, blah, 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 right? Again, I don't know the exact angle, but that's what he's doing in those ads that have made him a shitload of money. So that's like one formula you can go after. So you need to think something that they're trying, something that they're doing wrong. For example, I know if for me in the agency space, if I was to start like an agency program, teaching people how to build agencies, I would probably target people doing mass cold email outreach, right? Most people teach in agency courses. You need to get an Instantly account, get a couple of domains, warm them up, send 200 emails, cold emails a day, and just pump out more volume. I would maybe target that as a misconception, that people believe that they need to be sending hundreds of messages a day to sign clients. And I'd be like, no, that's actually incorrect. This is why, mass cold email outreach doesn't work. And then I need to logically explain to them why it doesn't work, And I can pick loads of different stuff, right? It's all marketing angles, sales. I could pick that, the competition is really high. People are using the same templates. The market has become more sophisticated and the response to cold emails isn't what it used to be a couple of years ago. There's tons of different stuff I could put in there to basically prove to someone that cold email doesn't work anymore. And again, whether it does or not, you can decide for yourself. But as a marketer, you need to come up with a convincing argument that people listen to and they're like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. Because you can't just say doing too much cardio actually doesn't help. Doing too much cardio can actually harm your weight loss efforts, or cold outreach doesn't work anymore. Like, I can't just say that and expect someone to believe me. That's not explaining the misconception and that's not educating them. It's just me making a statement. The value in the ad is around the education. So I need to come up with a logical argument of why that misconception that they have is false. With, those examples I just showed you a few ways you could do that. And then you would just go into the CTA. Now, I'm not talking about hooks for CTAs in this video, just because I believe anyway, the real core thing that is going to separate you from everyone else is being able to master the main part of the ad, which is the body section. And I feel like this is the part that not most people do. I think a lot of people get caught up in, you see it all the time, right? 100 viral TikTok hooks to start your ads off with, blah, blah, blah. And look, hooks are important, obviously, because it's the first thing that they see, especially with like YouTube videos where they've got that, 30 seconds before they can skip. So obviously hooks are important, and it's important that you get that, but there is a lot of information on there, and also hooks are like pretty short to write. So a lot of people can test these very quickly, and there's a lot of information out there on how to create great hooks. Maybe I'll do a video on that, but it's the body part of the ad that most people actually don't teach about. And so a lot of the time people just say, like I mentioned before, stuff like give value or tell a story, but it doesn't actually help. So that's formula number one, which we would use. A second one is a unique mechanism. So a unique mechanism, again, this is more of an education ad, so like a value ad that people talk about. And basically, a unique mechanism is basically your unique process for getting results. And you need to educate them on why your product or your process is the best way to get them results. Now, similar to the last one, you need to prove it with logic. you need to explain why it works better than competitors, i.e. you need to point out the flaws of what they're currently trying, and you need to basically show evidence as well. So some of our best basically ads, Formula 1 and Formula 2. Formula 1 is basically saying, what you're currently doing doesn't work, try this instead. And Formula 2 is basically saying, what we have is better than anything else. So it's actually similar concepts. And that's what we found like the best angles are. It's basically saying, hey, you're trying this thing. It's not working for you. This is why my thing is better. That's generally marketing and sales. And from a direct response advertising point of view, as a broad like stuff that you're looking to achieve, it's basically like those things. So that's what you should try and like focus on. So there's a little bit of overlap between Formula 1 and Formula 2, but obviously Formula 2 is focusing more on why your unique product works so much better. So again, you need to prove it with logic or in some cases science. So again, with the V-Shred example, he would explain why, I don't know actually what his strategy is for losing weight, but he would maybe explain why instead of doing cardio 7 days a week, just doing, 3 high intensity weight sessions a week can help you lose more weight. Right? I don't know if that's what he teaches, but he would then explain the science behind that. Because again, you can't just make statements in your ads and be like, doing too much cardio makes you lose weight and this way is better, without explaining why. He can't just say, just doing 3 high intensity weight sessions per week will actually help you lose more weight. He needs to back it up with science. He needs to use logic. He needs to show evidence. So you always need to provide the evidence of these statements that you make. Otherwise, especially if someone has never heard of you before and you're a stranger in the newsfeed trying to sell them something, they're never actually going to believe you. So you need to prove it with logic. Again, you need to explain why it works better than competitors, or at least different strategies. So what makes it yours like unique compared to everyone else? And like I said, you need to show evidence. And that can be in like, again, if we're doing like the weight loss stuff, scientific evidence, but it also could just be in like social proof and testimonials. So that's another way. Again, you should always have a logical argument around why your unique mechanism is better than anything else. And when you explain it to them, it gives them an aha moment where they're like, that makes sense. But to make that even stronger, towards the end of the body section of the ad, before you go into the CTA, if you can make a statement that basically says, my unique way is better than the old way, and you explain why, and then you can show social proof, that's basically like showing evidence twice that it works. And that is obviously powerful. Again, I don't need to explain, why am I getting birthday balloons on my Loom video? I don't know. Anyway, showing those two things is obviously going to be powerful. I don't need to explain, the power of social proof, I assume. If you're watching this video, then you already understand that. So that's Formula 2. And then Formula 3 is a story. So again, people talk about story and giving value, but they don't really explain like how to do it properly. So another formula that we do use is using a story. And basically the story shows and explains to them how you came across your unique solution. So it does follow a very, well-taught or well-known hero to zero story. So you or your client or an avatar was struggling with something. They tried all these different solutions. It didn't work. Then they came across this unique solution. They tried it and they got this amazing result. So connect to their pain and then you got the big result. Something that's important is to emphasize with the skepticism as well. So when you start and you connect to their pain, right, you can just tell that in a story format. 5 years ago, I was in this situation. I was struggling with X, Y, and Z. And X, Y, and Z are basically the main pain points that avatar that you're targeting with that ad is currently experiencing, right? So let's just say again, we'll stick with the weight loss examples because that's the theme of this video. So if someone is trying to lose weight, I was struggling with, working too hard in the gym without seeing results. I was unhappy with the way I looked and I didn't have confidence in myself, whatever. Maybe the 3 pain points that I knew my avatar would have. I would tell a story about how I also was experiencing those things a few years ago, or someone I know or a client was also experiencing those things. So you basically make them feel understood and you connect to their pain. Then when you get to the part of the story where you come across a solution, something that you want to do is show empathy towards the skepticism. Because most people are just like, they're struggling with this, then came across this solution, and then it was amazing. But you always add, like when someone's presented with like a magic pill, which is basically, generally what you're presenting in your marketing. Hey, I've got this amazing solution that's going to solve all your problems. Most people aren't just like, yeah, let me try it. Most people have a lot of skepticism and they have a lot of objections. So again, if you can weave into the story that when you were presented with that solution, you also had those same objections, that is even like, you can overcome those objections, but even by just saying that you had the same objections, psychologically makes them think like, oh, this person understands me. Oh, okay. Well, if they had the same objections and they still got results, then, most those objections must be false, right? They might have fears around, will it work for me even though I am X? If we're doing the weight loss example, will this work for me even though I'm a busy mum with, a 9-to-5 job and 5 kids? Will this work for me even if, I've never, lifted weights before? Again, all these fears and skepticisms that your ideal customer has, you should also talk about those in the story as you were presented with the solution. So you were struggling with all this pain. Someone told you about this amazing solution, but at first you were very skeptical because of A, B, and C. And A, B, and C are the same skepticisms that your ideal customer has. Right? So again, they feel heard, they feel connected to, they feel very understood. I always say this, I probably said it loads of times on this YouTube channel. My favorite quote in marketing is, if you can make someone feel understood, they will automatically assume you have the solution to all of their problems. So even just by showing them, hey, I used to feel like you did, and I was in the exact same situation. I also had all of these fears and skepticisms. Skepticisms? Is that even a word? I don't even know. I was skeptical about all of these things. That's going to make them feel very understood. So even by just doing that in the ad, then they're going to be automatically think, okay, this guy is exactly, he's doing the exact same thing I'm doing. Like he thought the exact same way I thought. So therefore I'm going to listen to him. And then obviously you decided to take the action anyway. You tried the new solution and you got this amazing result. I did it. I achieved ABC. And ABC in this instance is obviously the big dreams and goals that ideal customer has. So that's like the general flow of the story. And again, similar to Formula 2, you can talk about your own story, but there's still going to be some skepticism there that, okay, number one, you could be lying. Number two, is this real? And 3, like, were you lucky? Did it just work for you? What about everyone else? So at the end of your story, if you can then link it to some more social proof by saying, and it hasn't just worked for me, it's worked for John, who achieved X, Y, and Z. It worked for Dan, who's achieved ABC. It's worked for Jenna, who achieved 1, 2, 3. And typically what we would do here is just do some like quick fire testimonials if we've got them. So if you've got like for your own offer or your client's offer, if they've got a ton of testimonials, I'll just fire through them, like, 5 to 10 of them in one go, just to kind of, I suppose, overwhelm the person with case studies and results from other people. Because, okay, if you connected to the pain points and you've kind of showed them that you've got this amazing solution, in their mind, it's still, has it worked for others? And at that point, if you then go into and just list off like 10 plus people that it's helped, the mind's just going to be overwhelmed with it and be like, okay, wow, this obviously does work very well. So you can just quick fire a load of social proof there. Or if you don't have a load of testimonials, you can kind of basically link what we kind of did in Formula 1 and Formula 2, which is basically prove it with logic. So provide a logical explanation of why that unique solution works so well. So again, if you've got evidence, logic, science, studies, just some form of explanation that makes them think in their head, that makes sense. Why didn't I think of that before? Oh, okay, I understand it now. Because you can give, again, your story, but if you don't have some evidence behind it to show why it works, then it's not going to work as well. So they're typically the ways that we write our ads. And there's obviously different formulas, different templates. And I know this isn't like a template, right? I don't personally like templates where it's just like copy and paste this ad and change out this word, because they're just giving you the ad. And okay, it might work for you, but what happens when you need to write a new ad? You know, you understood what worked, this specific ad, but you don't know why it worked. And if you don't know why it worked, then you can't replicate it in the future to create different variations of the ad. Whereas if you understand these principles that I talked about in this video, then, you know, you can create, for Formula One, you could create, 5 to 10 different ads on 5 to 10 different misconceptions that your ideal customer has in relation to the result that you help them achieve. So if you understand this and understand that process and formula, then you shouldn't really struggle to produce different ad ideas. So, hope that was helpful. If you've got any questions about our ad creation process, let me know in the comments below. And yeah, that's it. See you later.